Welcome back, everybody, to the Coaches Huddle 831 podcast. My name is Jesse Obas. I'm really excited about our next guest. But before that, I want to talk to you a little bit about our purpose for this podcast. We really want to get the voices out there of our great game of football here in the 831, talk to coaches and other important people that really contribute to making this game what it is. This podcast is always dedicated in memory of Anthony Cotti, my brother, my coach, my compadre. So rest in peace, coach. You're always in our hearts, and we'll always remember you. So let's begin. I'm here with Coach Anthony Romero of Cabrillo College, home of the Seahawks. Coach Romero is 31 years old. He is a proud resident of Salinas. He is the oldest of three siblings. He is an educator and is the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks. He, like me, is a proud Alisal Trojan alumni. Coach Romero played at Hartnell and Bethel College after he graduated high school, and he has been a coach for 9 years. Let's welcome Coach Anthony Romero to the show. Welcome, Coach. It's great to have you on the Coaches Huddle 831.
Thanks. It's going to be awesome experience. Saw Coach Cuevas' episode, and I know we kind of talked about that before, and it's great to be on here with you.
Thank you. Yeah, shout out to Coach Cuevas, who is a major contributor to this program. Coach, first to begin, first question outside of football, what is something that you're passionate about?
So outside of football, I mean, really, obviously number one is my family. Just passionate about them, just spending time with them as much as I can, with my nieces, my nephews, my fiance and her nieces and nephews, and then all together. And then my brother and my sister and my mom. So just spending a lot of time with them because, like I said, life is short and just things of that nature. Just family is very important to me.
Absolutely. Congratulations on your engagement, Coach.
Thank you. I know Coach Cueva said it's been a little bit, but no, we're working on that. So that's going to be something that is coming down the pipeline. It just takes some time.
Coach, in your time. How did you get into coaching?
So got into coaching. Really graduated from Bethel College, and from there I knew I wanted to coach. But even before I graduated, I had reached out to Coach Anthony Santos, who coached me at Alisal.
Shout out to Coach Santos.
Right, he coached me at Alisal, and then from there we went. From there, so losing track, but okay. From there graduated and kind of kept in talks. And he said, "Oh, well, I'm at Alvarez." I'm like, "Okay." I went to Alisal, so that's the rival. Never that I think I was ever going to coach at Alvarez, or that would be my first spot. But he told me, "Hey, Coach Mendes is the head coach. He'd like to talk with you and kind of see where it goes from there." I remember the day where I went. It was pouring rain. It was winter break. Hadn't even came back yet from graduating. And he's like, "Oh, come meet me at the school." And everything was pouring rain. School just got out. It was a mission just to get there. And I got to the school, talked to Coach Mendes. He's actually one of my big mentors that got me into coaching. And we talked about it. He's like, "Hey, you're going to work JV O-line." And I'm like, "Yeah," I didn't even hesitate. I just want to coach, want to get into it. And from there, that kind of got me in the door. And from there, it flourished from there. But that was really it is the most important and really the foundation of what I did as a coach, So
how was that experience that first year?
It was amazing. It was just getting my feet wet, kind of learning how to coach and learning how to get my feet underneath me and how to coach and be with other coaches that have done it for a while, and just being a sponge, just learning and interacting with the kids and the players. It was my first time ever being a coach, and it was awesome. So it was one of the best experiences ever. And I always talk about that the lower levels was really fun. Granted, it was only 1 year, but it was just an awesome experience for me.
Absolutely, and shout out to Coach Mendes as well. So you mentioned that you played football, but what position did you play, Coach? Initially?
I played offensive line. I played at Alisal High School, and I'm a proud alumni there. Shout out to Coach Estrada and the Trojans right now. He's doing a great job with that program. Really excited and happy for them. And yeah, I played at Alisal High School, graduated in 2013. At the time, we had set the record for most wins in a regular season at 8-2 with Coach Smith, which he's one of my biggest mentors. Shout out to him. And he pretty much set the foundation for that. But that was his last season, so it was pretty cool to kind of go let that out, send him off with the record-breaking season for us. And then we were the first team to host a home playoff game in school history. And then from there, I went to go to Hartnell College. Didn't have many options. I am an undersized O lineman. Was an undersized O lineman. So it was a challenge just to play that position at 5'9", 300 pounds. Probably selling myself short, maybe bigger. But in all else, I went to Hartnell. It was an opportunity for me to play, and then from there, I was able to go and kind of use even the limited opportunities on the field to go from there, earn a couple of scholarships that I could choose from NAIAs, and eventually had a couple D2s at the end. But the money just seemed better, and as far as the opportunity to play right away at Bethel College in Kansas, and it was really far from home.
What was that like, Coach?
Oh man, so yeah, going to then that was really the decision making. It was figuring out that all these schools that were offering me at the time were all far. They were all either Midwest, East Coast. There was nothing on this side, on the West Coast, like nothing. So I had to make a decision of, okay, do I want to continue playing football, or is this where the road ends and I'm done? Am I going to be able to go away from home? And that was one of the hardest things is, am I going to want to go away from home? And the school felt right, the coaches felt right. They were one of the first ones to offer me. That was the biggest thing too. They were the first ones to offer me. They kept in constant communication, even when bigger schools, better schools started reaching out. I just owed a lot to them because that coaching staff really believed in me first. So I went, and then, yeah, that's kind of how it went. But as far as Kansas itself, getting there was a really, really big culture shock, Coach. A really big culture shock. A lot different than Salinas. People think Salinas is small. Go to North Newton, Kansas, look it up, and you'll see how small it is. It's a separate entity from the actual Newton, Kansas. So that in itself is like, it's the college, and that's pretty much it. So it was way different for me. It was scary, but the experience itself is, I mean, you got to branch out, see something different than your hometown, and it changed my perspective on when I came back, on how to look at things, how to go about things, and how to appreciate the people you do have in this community, because there's not a lot of people. Like, this community is very, very giving when you go and open your arms up to them, and
Absolutely.
yeah, it was awesome. So.
Well said, Coach. Any major accomplishments or memories, or the Al Bundy story, scoring 5 touchdowns in a game, Coach?
Nah, no 5 touchdowns because played offensive line. But at Alisal, my senior year, I was the team offensive lineman of the year. Had earned a couple honorable mention for all league, and then from there, it was an awesome experience, just being a part of the team and just working my tail off and just buying into what Coach Smith and the coaching staff. Coach Eubanks was my offensive coordinator, so shout out to him. He was awesome getting there. We went from a pro style offense to spread, and it was awesome to finally play in a spread offense, and where undersized linemen can actually flourish because you spread them out. The boxes are so heavy, and it was awesome. So, but the accomplishments in itself was really just, like I said, just an award from there, and then that allowed me to go play at Hartnell, and then kind of.
I kind of remember Coach Eubanks, at North County, and I describe him as like a mad scientist. Right?
Yeah, that's probably a good way to say it, because he was very creative. I mean, he was always finding different wrinkles and different things that we could do at Alisal, and just he knew that, and really Coach Smith gave him the full reins to kind of do what he needs to do, and we all bought into it because he was putting in the time, putting in the work, and at the end of the day, we knew that he cared about us. So it made us as players like, we're gonna go all in for Coach, for all of our coaches, but for him and Coach Smith specifically, because we knew that they had our best interest.
That's a great point, Coach. And you already talked about your mentors and some of your influences, but how important are they to you as a coach now?
So there's a long list. I got a huge one, but I'm going to kind of try to touch on everyone because I think everyone deserves their flowers as far as their appreciation for because you can't do it without a circle of coaches, a circle of people that believe in you, because that's how I feel like I was able to kind of build up, is because of the people that I knew. So and also was Coach Smith and Coach Eubanks, just them as coaches for me. But now even to this day, Coach Eubanks with me, and we're still to this day, we're very close. We started a camp together, which we're going to talk about later. And then Coach Smith was my head coach. But the story behind that was, before I even played at Alisal, I was already tied into Alisal football. All my uncles went to Alisal High. So I was just around since I was knee high around the games. I was always at Alisal, always going to games.
Anybody that played back in '89?
No one back then. No. But they were all in the early to mid 2000s. So right when Smith got there, my uncles one of them played for Smith in his very first year taking over, and then from there kind of went on, and then I just watched from there, and I knew it was going to be a Trojan, and ended up going there, ended up playing for him, and then just I've all been Alsa all the way through. So, but yeah, he's one of my big mentors. Coach Eubanks is one of my big mentors. Then from Hartnell, I met Coach Max, who was my offensive line coach, who was a legend at North High. Yeah, great offensive line coach. Now he's coaching at Orange Coast College or Citrus. I don't remember the name, but he's coaching at one of the JUCOs down in Orange County, and he's coaching running backs right now. But he was one of the big influences for me because he was very big on you don't got to be big, you don't got to be a master, you just got to be technically sound. And I really carried that with me as an O-line coach that it doesn't matter who you got, you're going to make them work and you're going to get them technically sound so they can play some football. And that's one of my big influences on me because that's what I needed to do in order to play at the next level. I needed to be technically sound and be smart. So Coach Max at Hartnell, and then at Bethel, I got to call it in Kansas. I got there. Coach Lawler, who was my head coach, Coach Byers, and Coach Garrett, who recruited me, gave me an opportunity to go play there. And I'm forever in their debt because they gave me a chance, an opportunity before anyone else even thought about it. So I was very loyal to them, and they allowed me to pretty much go and play college football that a lot of people yearn for and want to do, and I was able to do that. And then from there, I went to Alvarez where I met. There's a lot of people from there I can think of, but Mendes and Coach Cuevas are the two that right off the bat. Mendes gave me my first opportunity. He didn't have to. He didn't know me. I didn't know him. But he went off the word of one of my old coaches, Coach Santos, and he gave me an opportunity to coach at Alvarez, and that really went. And I'm forever, like I said, in debt to him as far as that because that allowed me to get my coaching career started. Without that, there's probably I don't know who else is going to go and give me an opportunity. I would have looked for one, but he didn't even bat an eye. And then Coach Cuevas, beyond Alvarez, when I was getting into teaching, he got me an opportunity at North County to teach. And he didn't have to. He didn't have to go out of his way to talk to his principal, but he went out of his way to give me an opportunity. And then from Hartnell, Coach Smith, I coached them there. We already talked about that, but he opened the door for me with Coach Collins to get me there. So both of them, him and Coach Collins, both gave me an opportunity at the JUCO level from Alvarez. And then Coach Reber, who's not from here, but he coached, is in Sacramento. He was the offensive coordinator there my first year, and I learned a whole bunch from him. I didn't know who he was, but he still allowed me on his staff as an OC, and I just learned a lot from him because he knew so much, and he ended up breaking all of the records offensively single season at Hartnell. And I just learned so much from him about offense, how to practice script, how to script practice, and pretty much just a lot of football from him and how to work and grind. And the last one, Coach Ramos, both Ivan and Alexis, but working with Coach Ivan Ramos, shout out to him. We played at Alisal together, and we were both young coaches at JUCO, and we just kind of grew together. Kind of having someone right next to you that has going through the same struggles, same kind of leaps and bounds to kind of get through JUCO and as a young coach and grow. To kind of have someone that is going through the same thing with you is very important. And we were always in that together, so I've always cherished my time coaching with him and at Hartnell. And then from lastly, at Cabrillo, Coach Hansen, before I always knew I wanted to be an offensive coordinator. I didn't know at what level. I knew I wanted to call plays. I was kind of chomping at the bit, and he reached out to me. He got a kind of intel from Coach Smith, like, hey, I think he's ready, but I don't know if you want to reach out to him. And then it happened all organically. Coach Hansen reached out to me and said, hey, Coach Romero, let's get this thing rolling. You want to be an offensive coordinator.
How was that like?
Oh, man, I didn't expect it because I know Coach Hansen is one of the greatest defensive coordinators in this area and one of the best backup coaches. You go and ask a lot of these coaches that I just mentioned. Coach Cuevas has mentioned him in your last episode, but he has coached a lot of players in this area that are now coaches, and he's coached a lot of high-level players and high-level defenses. He was my defensive coordinator when I was at Hartnell as a player, and then I coached against him for a year at Hartnell when he was at Cabrillo for 1 year. But really just that transition from Hartnell to over there, it was bittersweet. I did not expect to leave Hartnell. That was my alma mater. I had every reason to stay there, but an opportunity to level up and kind of go up the coaching ladder like everyone wants to in this day and age came about. And from a coach that I really respect, but I hadn't coached with them yet. So it was a leap of faith, and it is farther from where I live. It is about a 35, 40-minute drive. But I didn't bat an eye. He believed in me. He saw something in me. And from there, we've built that program for the last 4 years that had the death penalty going into that. They didn't have a season in 2020. 2021, they still didn't have a season. And they brought it back with no resources. We had to build it with 40 freshmen. We had 40 freshmen and 2 sophomores. Actually, yeah, 2 sophomores. 40 freshmen, 2 sophomores from scratch. We had to find kids that had graduated years ago. We had kids that had never played before, and we built them up and said, let's build this thing. They'll show up, and from that year, those kids that were there in that 2022 season will forever have a special place in my coaching career because they didn't question anything. They just said, Coach, we're going to go play. And they stuck it out for 2 years, and a lot of those kids are playing either Division I or Division II football, or they are playing at some scholarship level football. And those kids never questioned it. They had no reason to believe in us. We had no proof of anything previously. But I'm forever in debt to Coach Hansen. He believed in me when a lot of people really didn't, as a play caller and as a coach and as a person. But yeah, to go from Hartnell to the rival, but it's not the first time I did it. Went from Allison alum to Alvarez. So
amazing, Coach. It seems like that's a great list of coaches to have as mentors and influences, Coach. But again, I could tell, they're supporting you. It's meant a lot to you. So, Coach, in coaching, what are some of your non-negotiables?
So I guess like on the first one, when we go where it says, what do you need in building a program?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think culture, love, relationships are super, super important. You got to build a culture. It's got to be something that goes with you. So that's something for me as a non-negotiable. You got to be all in on the culture, biting off of Coach Cuevas a little bit, but you have to be all in. It is very true. You have to be all in on the culture. You got to have love for not just yourself, but for everyone on your team. You got to love and respect your teammates, your coaches, because there's no way you're going to be all in if you're not respecting or loving the coaches or the players that you have on your team. So I think that's an ultimate one. And then just relationships. I think you got to be able to build relationships with your teammates. You don't always have to like them. You don't always have to be on the same page with everybody. But I think as long as you have that common respect and you're building that relationship with your teammates, your coaches, and that goes for just life. I think those are all good life lessons for players and coaches to understand. So really, that's just how I feel like building a program, and that's part of it, I guess, of a non-negotiable.
Yeah, you had mentioned earlier about buy-in. You think that buy-in creates that authenticity and that genuine feeling? When you're trying to get that group of 50 or 60 of all these different personalities to come together for a purpose.
Yeah, I think it's really big, especially at our level, because every year, and I don't care what anyone says, unless you've coached JUCO, every year is a different team. You don't get to keep those kids for 4 years. I mean, 1 year kids are gone. You got to bring in new kids, and even the kids you expect to come back, sometimes they don't come back. So you're constantly building that thing every year. So yeah, I mean, I really do believe that buy-in is really important. That buy-in is what we need to kind of build it, and it's one of those things that you have to get a mixing pot of different players from different areas, from someone from different states, to buy into what you're doing. And it's not easy. I mean, it's not easy, but it's what we're here for. We're trying to get those kids to buy in, but also to connect with one another and to trust in us. But that trust doesn't happen unless there's, like I said, a respect and love for one another, and then you're building that relationship with those young men.
Right on, Coach. So now getting to some of the challenges you're facing as a coach, or some of the challenges you've faced in general.
So really, there's a couple of them. I wrote a couple of them down, but one of them is like low numbers. I remember Coach Cuevas kind of talked about that too, but so I'm not trying to write off on that. But at the same time, it trickles down, and I think it really goes to a low interest of football. I think there's a low interest of football because it's more practice than you do play, and it's not instant gratification. You have to love the process to play football, and I think there's a lot of people, and even it can go with coaches too. There are a lot of people that don't love the process. You have to love training. You have to love running. You have to love weightlifting. You have to love practice, because you practice 4 to 5 times out of the week to play for 2 hours. I mean, not even if you do the math. How many times are you actually playing? Not in between reps, not on the sideline. How much are you actually playing? You're probably playing for 60 minutes, or you do the math of the time that's on there. But for every level, it's different. But you're practicing more than you play. You're training more than you play. Your off season is the biggest part of your season. And I think that's why kids don't do it, because they don't see the payout as big enough. And I think that's one of the challenges that attributes to kids don't see that. Then it goes to low numbers because now I don't want to do that, so I'm not going to play. So then now you're seeing less kids playing on high school teams, less kids that from high school want to go play at JUCO or want to go play at a college unless it's a big college that's paying them a scholarship. Or more now with NIL, but there's a lot of kids that they don't see the payout from football, where really the payout in football is more than just the result or on the field. It's what it builds from you for the life after football is what I think is that kids are missing a lot of days. And I think that's one of the challenges.
Yeah, when I was a kid, just playing high school, I enjoyed practice. I loved practice, and as a coach, it kind of went double. I enjoy practices more than the games because you practice, you put in that 60 hours or whatever 20 hours for those little 10-second spurts, right? The little 10 seconds of action, and to me, that was. I still enjoy practice more than the game. Are you kind of the same way?
Oh yeah, no. As an offensive lineman, it can be a little tough because your practices are rough as a player. I remember they're tough, but you start realizing that if you enjoy the practices, you have to enjoy those ones. You have to find the silver lining in practice in order to get, because everyone wants to play in the games. If you asked every kid and they said, hey, you can practice once a week and then play on Fridays and play on Saturdays, a lot of those kids probably would. Now, the quality of football would be not as good, but I think if you find the importance of practice, you find the importance of the process, trusting the process, and that's what I think kids don't realize too, is you can do the whole process, and it still may not lead to success on the field, but that shouldn't be your end-all, be-all. It should be that you're competing at a high level, and it eventually it just builds, and it may not build in day one. Rome wasn't built in one day. But I think that's what kids, and that goes with the instant gratification thing we're going to talk about later. So.
Yeah, leading to that, Coach. So what are issues that are currently present in the game? I mentioned NIL and social media.
Yeah, so one of the social media a little bit, I think it gives a false hope or like an easy road. Kids think that, well, that kid is doing it, so I can do it. Like, it's just easy, right? No, like those kids that you see, even kids locally that some of them I've worked with and some that I haven't, but you see them like, well, they're going Division One. I could just do it. Like those kids, you don't see the behind closed doors of what they're doing. So there's like a false hope or easy road, and they think it's just easy for them to do it. And then really, do kids love the process more than the results? And I think it's the instant gratification is not reality. Kids need to realize, and players need to realize, and even coaches. I think it goes with all well, but instant gratification is not real. Like, you have to trust the process, and at the end of the road, you may not get it, or you may get it, or it may not be exactly what you were hoping for, but you're going to get something out of it. And there's a lot more. I've never met a player or met a coach or player more so that says, man, I regret playing those 4 years. I see more, I regret not playing my senior year, or I regret skipping out my junior year, or I regret not giving a chance to go and give it another try. Now, if you try it and it's not for you, then at least you have that you lived out for. But I think it's really the instant gratification is one of the biggest challenges and why we're seeing a lower number.
I definitely can see that, Coach. But you had talked about these, to use it for special kids, right? That you've been able to coach and that have made that leap, right, to Division One or have played at other schools. I know there's Weimer, right, at West Virginia, and then Freeman at Fresno State, who, you coached as well, Coach?
Were.
What distinguishes those type of kids, and how were they able to make it?
So Jeff Weimer was I recruited, and we all did at Hartnell. It was a big joint effort. That was my first year at Hartnell. We recruited that kid to come play at Hartnell, and he was not against it. Sometimes you see a lot of kids who are against going JUCO because they think, well, I'm better than that.
He had offers, right?
Yeah, he was getting a lot of interest, but he ultimately felt like JUCO was his best opportunity, and he, down the street, Salinas High, said, yeah, let me get this shot. He showed up as an early enrollee in spring, and really we saw him, man, he's a hard worker. Like, he loves the weight room. He loves to train. He was always finding different times to meet with all the coaches to kind of talk about what he can be better at, and he was just the ultimate grinder, and he was not going to be denied an opportunity to go and play at the Division I level. Ultimately, he was there. It's the process, and he believed in the process. And there's a bunch of them, and I think that's the core connection between a lot of them is the grind, the process. And they weren't worried about the results. They were just worried about the results will take care of themselves through the process. Because it was Jeff Weimer at Hartnell, Josiah Freeman at Hartnell while I was there. James Millavali while I was there, and I coached him specifically as an offensive lineman, and now he was at University of Hawaii. And then I go to Cabrillo, and we had Zeke Thomas, who he's a special story because he had no interest out of high school, had a gap year because of the death penalty at Cabrillo, and then he played 1 year with us where we, like I told you, we only had 40 freshmen and it was a very small roster, and not a lot of success in the field. But Chip Kelly came down, saw his film, really believed in what he saw for him to get a full scholarship to UCLA, and he flourished from there. And now he graduated with his degree, and then from there we had another kid who went to Stephen F. Austin in Northern Colorado, Jack Bacon, who was a Santa Cruz alum. So at both spots at Cabrillo and at Hartnell, there was those special kids. Another one, Alexis Ramos, who does the aero training here in Salinas. Shout out to him. He was also another one. But there's plenty of kids who I can write off. I've seen the process of what they did, and it's the process. It's not, they didn't just wake up and they were God-given essentially, but they had to take their God-given abilities with the process to go and get them to that level. And that's what kids need to realize, is that it's not just given to you. You have to work for it. And those kids, there was nothing guaranteed, hey, you're going to do this work and you're going to be a Division I athlete. And some of them, it took longer than others. Like Jeff had to go through the COVID year, got injured, COVID year, transferred to San Francisco City, and then finally got his payout. It took him 3 to 4 years to go and get that.
So you would probably want, I could categorize these type of players as proactive, right?
Very proactive. Very, very proactive.
Right. Great. That's a great response, Coach. Thank you. So now talking about, more specifically your role as an offensive coordinator, how do you prepare for practice and then therefore, the games, right?
Yeah, so practice, I mean, really the biggest one is the off season, and we'll talk about that later. But the off season is really huge going into the season, so we can go see what talent we have, because at our level is different. We get a spring ball, and we get all of that. So we have to take the spring, see what we like, see what we don't like. It's really a kind of a building ground to see what we can look like that year. But really at the JUCO level, once you get to the season, every week is different. Your team looks different every week because injuries, guys that may become ineligible. Your team looks different every week. You may not have some key players, so you're always trying to find ways to mesh the offense around. And really, it's us trying to go and move on the fly, and adaptability, really, and being flexible, to being able to go and being able to accommodate and move around to the players you do have available for the week. I think that's one of the biggest things is that I have to do every week is, what are we going to do differently this week? How are we going to improve? And what are our biggest needs that we need to get to through this week to be prepared for Saturday? And then really, what can we attack on their end to kind of get us in a better position? But yeah, we have to take self-inventory and see what we have with us before we can even take that next step. We can't go and plan around for everything, and then we're like, well, my tight end that usually does this is out, so now we got to do this. And now it's all about finding the different moving parts every week, and that's the challenges of JUCO, especially around here where you have lower numbers. So every week is different. So just trying to keep it all together and assessing and preparing. So
now you had mentioned the off season. You talk, and if I'm hearing you correctly, you talk about your off season not necessarily more of an install, but more of an assessment and talent, or what you're going to be able to have, or.
Yeah. So the off season is really just seeing, well, what kids we have in the spring, what our recruiting is looking like, because obviously, and that's the other challenge too, is in the spring you don't have everybody yet. You have kids that are still in high school who are going to graduate and then eventually come back in, and come in later in the fall during fall camp or summer ball. So those kids don't even know what you're doing yet still. So you have to get those kids caught up. So the spring is very important as far as the foundational pieces. The kids that are there, the returning sophomores, kids that may early enrolled, like what I had mentioned Jeff did at Hartnell, we'll get some of those kids, getting those kids prepped and ready so when they are coming into fall camp or summer ball, those kids are ready to go. They're ready to go and locked and loaded, and they're getting those new freshmen kind of ready to go and play college football. So it's really the off season, the spring, the weight training, the speed and conditioning, making sure that we're getting those kids' bodies right physically to go through a 10, 11 game season. Yeah, so really the off season is more important than anything else. That's going to kind of gauge you win your season in the off season for the most part. And our best year at Cabrillo was when we had a really strong presence in off season and a really strong number of returners coming back that just showed up every day, did not care what was looking forward. They just worried about the off season, and then we ended up having a better record than in my time being there and having a lot of success.
So you had mentioned, this time of the year in our conversations and how important recruiting is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk to us a little about right now what the process is of the recruiting cycle that you're going through right now?
Yeah, so right now recruiting is nonstop. You're always recruiting, even through the season, the 2025 season going in, and now kids are in their off season, going into graduating in a couple of months in May. We're recruiting those kids nonstop. We're trying to find ways to what can Cabrillo do for you? What can we do for you as a as a college to make you feel like this is the spot for you to play at? So we're constantly building those relationships, and really the relationship part is important, not just with the players, but with the coaches, their coaches. Those coaches appreciate when we go down to North County and I talk to Coach Cuervo and say, hey, give me your list of guys, but let's talk about them. I want your insight. Because it's important to understand what those kids are like, what they're like for that coach, and who do they recommend and who do they not, or what's the end all be all. And building a relationship with those coaches, because one, that's the lifeline of recruiting is relationships. And I know pretty much every coach in this area that I can go there, call them, set up a meeting, and talk about their guys. So really, the relationships with the coaches and the players is the biggest part, especially in this time of the year of recruiting. And then knowing that it's a long game, that you're not going to be able to get a kid that right away says, "I'm going to come to Cabrillo," or it's right in, signed, sealed, and you're coming to play for us. It's a long game, but as far as building that relationship and knowing that even there's been kids that I don't even get them, they don't even end up playing for me, that I still root for unless they play us, and then that's the one game I don't. But I still wish them the best, and I keep in contact with them in the sense that once they're done playing, I'm like, hey man, shout out to you, congrats that you finished your 2 years at X college, or you end up going Division One, you didn't even have to go JUCO, and rooting for all those kids to end up doing it the right way, because that's what coaching should be, is that you're rooting for everyone's success to go, especially these kids. We want every kid to go and live out their dreams, because why would you wish on a kid's downfall just because he didn't come play for you specifically?
We might not be able to coach them all, but they still represent us in our community.
Exactly.
We should be proud of them, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. So you had mentioned this relationship with Coach Eubanks and this lineman camp, right? That you organized in May. Can you tell us a little bit about that camp, Coach?
So that camp, the Battle in the Trenches, 831 Battle in the Trenches, my fault, I gotta get the name right. So it started off as kind of an idea between me and Coach Eubanks about doing a lineman only camp. There is not one like of just lineman only where it's for a couple of hours and all it is getting coaches from this area to come in and share their expertise with these kids that are looking for this. And the first year we ever did it was in going into the 2023 season. And we went, did it at Salinas High. We had probably about, I would say 70, 75 kids the first year. But from there, it took off. Every year, we've had more and more kids. We've been doing it at St. Francis High School for the last couple of years. And it got to a point where last year we were at over 100 kids. It was crazy. It's insane. And just the buy-in and everything from this community to do it. But really, it's just to get more exposure on linemen, something for them to do. And really putting emphasis that linemen here have a lot of great coaches that want to coach them and give back to them. So we try to find as many coaches as possible that want to do it. So if there's any coaches out there that are looking to help out with this year's camp, feel free to reach out to me or Coach Eubanks. We'd greatly appreciate it. So
and this year's location is going to be?
We're still confirming that, but more than likely it'll probably be St. Francis High School, but we're still going to go and get into those details. We're still early in it. But as far as going into that, it's going to be a great year for that camp as well. It's probably going to be growing again as I expect it to be. But yeah, it really is just for these kids. We want these kids to have an opportunity to go and showcase themselves. And the crazy thing is, we look back, there's a lot of alumni that have gone through that camp that are playing Division I football. Just as I was coming here, Oscar Weigel, who was a Carmel alum, ended up going to the University of San Diego to play Division I football there. Went to the portal. Now he's going to the University of Montana. So he went to that camp. Messiah Johnson, he went to that camp. He's playing Division I football.
Idaho, right?
Yeah, Idaho State. Malachi, who was at Santa Cruz High, went to Soquel. He was the first defensive MVP of that camp. Played at San Mateo, and now he's getting Division I offers. There's Division I guys, Division II guys that have played JUCO, and now they're getting offers that have gone through that camp and have done it. So really, a lot of talented kids have gone through that camp that have went out, but really just outstanding students, outstanding men, and their coaches that have brought them into that camp. Their coaches can't thank those coaches locally enough for that.
Well, just in what I've heard, Coach, it's a great camp, and it exposes, like you said, a lot of these student athletes to opportunities and just the idea, right? So again, thank you, and Coach Eubanks as well. So a couple final questions here, Coach. What is your final thought or quote that you want to leave with our listeners?
I would say don't, and I think Coach Cuevas kind of talked about it, is that making that jump from Alvarez JV to junior college and staying there for as long so far as I have, that like coaches and young coaches that are getting into this, don't be in such a rush to climb the ladder, and don't look down at coaching at the lower levels. You have to start somewhere. And I owe a lot to what I've built today as a coach and where I've gone as a coach to coaching at that lower level. And that I was ready to be there at Alvarez for years on years, coaching under Coach Mendes and being with Coach Cuevas and Santos and a lot of them, just to learn and keep growing as a coach, but just to work and keep grinding and build relationships and learn from other coaches and know that every coach in this area has something to give and something to offer, and that you're never too good to keep growing in this game, and that there's people that out there that are willing to help, wanting to help, and there's great coaches in this area. So go and talk to those coaches. Some of the best coaches I've been around have been high school coaches around here that are willing to listen, willing to talk football. And all else, this is a coaching, it's a fraternity of people that want better for the sport. Yes, we do compete against each other. Do we all want to beat one another on the field? Of course we do. But keeping the relationship aspect important. All else, just keep working, man. I think a lot of coaches get caught up on the whole idea of, well, I want to be calling plays right away, or I want to be a coordinator, or I want to be at the varsity level, or I want to, boom, just shoot straight up. It's not always that. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, and just be grateful for the opportunity to have to coach, because not everyone has that opportunity. And I think really I can't stress that enough to just any coach. It doesn't have to be a young coach. To just be in the moment, enjoy it, and don't be in such a hurry to be on to the next spot.
So that's a great point. So what does the future hold for you? Are you thinking about running your own program, Coach? Being a head coach?
There has been moments where I've thought about it. I think in the future maybe. Right now I'm really enjoying the opportunity at Cabrillo. I love just working with the offense, not having to worry about. I see a lot of my friends are head coaches, from Cuevas to Estrada and Alisal and other coaches that I keep in contact with, and that there's a lot that goes into it, and I'm more than ready to do it, but I don't know if I want to do it just yet. I'm enjoying the time of just calling plays, working on the offense, helping Coach Hansen out, and at some point I will, but I think the time will come. The time it'll be ready, and I know when it'll be ready. And when it does, I'll be ready to take it on. And I mean, yeah. So we'll see. One day we'll see if that ever happens or when that happens.
So how I'm a listener and I would like to get in contact with you, Coach. How can I?
So I have Twitter, I have Instagram, but Twitter's probably the biggest one. It's Coach Romero _CC or X. I don't know what they call it anymore. And then my phone number. That obviously I'm not gonna divulge that to everybody. Just but it will be posted. I'll give you all the contact. We'll post in there.
Anyone wanting to get a hold of Coach Romero, just please, remark on this video on YouTube or Spotify, and with your email, your contact information, and I'll make sure to get it to Coach Romero as soon as I can.
Mm-hmm. And then email is another great way as well. We'll have that tagged in, but it's AN Romero at cabrillo.edu, and then that's another way to get a hold of me. If there's any questions about just coaching and football, recruiting, and any other things like that. I love talking football. I love talking about just even, it's not X's and O's, but just kind of culture-based stuff, program stuff, and I love learning from other coaches. So if any coach, I'm always willing and down to do that. So
I think that's a very great point. I think that's the one thing that I see and I admire in coaches that I really respect a lot, is that ability to always continue learning, right, Coach? I think that's an important point.
No, super, super important. I think that's what I love about this, is that's going to give a lot of insight for other coaches to see other coaches, how they operate, but not just X's and O's, but just real. And then, you want to learn from other coaches and their experiences and how they've gone about things, how things were for them. But yeah, I think you just always got to constantly learn and always looking to go. And really, the biggest thing too, I guess another thing before I keep dragging this thing on, find your inner circle of coaches that you could have a lot of web of coaches that you can reach out to, but finding an inner circle of coaches in this community that like you can go and call them up, and it goes beyond football. Like we have Cuevas probably mentioned it, but we have a group chat of just us as coaches who have met throughout the years, and we just probably not always about football, but it's part of it though. We all coach football. We all are all there connected to how we through the game, and really we can always go to one another about football, about anything that's going on in their programs. How would you handle it? How would you go about it? And really just having that strong connection of coaches that you feel like you can lean on for all those scenarios.
Absolutely, Coach. That's a great point. So, Coach, final question: is there anything else you'd like to say or like to partake or talk about?
All my players that I've coached, just know you're my guys. Can't do this without the players. We always emphasize us as coaches, but I just want my players to know that without them, I have no one to coach, and without them, can't drive this thing, man. And really got a lot of love for my players, former, current, even ones that only played one snap for me or never finished. But I want them to know that you can't do this without the players, and that I really have a great appreciation for them, and they're one of the biggest parts of why I do this, and that doing this for them, and that I hope they know that they're going to grow and build to be the next set of coaches to go and kind of keep this thing going. So really just a true admiration for my players, and just just hope to keep coaching for a long, long time. So
right on, Coach. One question about college playoff, or we're coming up to the NFL playoffs. Anything to say? Any predictions? Who's going to be the champs?
Well, there's a lot of similarities between me and the last participant of this podcast, but we're all about the U. So Miami is going to go. I'm not guaranteeing anything, because guarantees always come back to bite you. But I'll say this: I'm rooting for Miami. They're going to beat Ole Miss, and we're going to go into play.
I like that kid Mendoza, so I got to shoot for the Hoosiers. I got to shoot for the Hoosiers. The kid Mendoza is he's a good kid, so
if we meet Indiana, we're gonna put the SIG out. Cincinnati's gonna be gone.
That's gonna be a good game. All right, so I'd like to thank Coach Romero for joining us on the Coaches Huddle 831 podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to both our Facebook and YouTube pages under Coaches Huddle 831. You can also listen on Spotify under the same name. Again, thank you all that have joined and have watched the last podcast. Excuse me. I'd like to thank my family for all their support. We also appreciate all the love and support from our community. Shout outs to the 831 and beyond. We also like to appreciate all the coaches doing their thing out there, right? Remember to support our local schools. If you haven't been out to a game, go enjoy the competition, all the amazing student athletes out there and all the various sports that have to offer out there. We will have another amazing interview soon. Stay tuned. Thank you, and thank you to Coach Romero.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate the opportunity.